Welcome to our deep dive into the State of AI Report 2024.
Yeah, this report published online just a few days ago on October 10th by Nathan Benaish of Airstreet Capital is really packed with insights.
It really is, and we're going to try to unpack as much as possible for business leaders in particular, especially those who are thinking about how to integrate AI into their companies going forward.
Yeah, there's a ton in here. It's a very comprehensive look at where AI stands right now, from research breakthroughs to what's happening out there in the industry.
And we'll be focusing on those takeaways that matter most for business leaders so you can make informed decisions about adopting AI, investing in it, even attracting the right talent to lead your company into this new era.
You know, one thing I think this report does really well is it changes so fast, the AI landscape, that it really highlights those things that you really need to be paying attention to.
Absolutely, and it kicks off actually with a review of the 2023 predictions. It's always interesting to see how those played out. For example, remember that AI-generated song that hit the Billboard charts? They called that one right.
They did, and another one that stood out to me, they predicted that a major AI company would either buy or create its own chip company. And they were specifically focused on inference, which is, once you've got the AI model, it's how do you actually process the information to give you an answer. And it looks like Sam Altman at OpenAI is already on that path.
Yeah, wow, that was fast. It just shows you how quickly this field is moving from research into real-world applications, and of course, with that, significant business implications. So should we dive into the meat of the report, the research section?
Let's do it. One of the major takeaways this year is that OpenAI, while still a big player, is facing some serious competition.
Things are really heating up out there. It's not just about GPT-4 anymore. We're seeing models like Claude 3.5 Sonnet, Gemini 1.5, and Grok 2 really closing that performance gap. What does that mean for companies that are thinking about, getting on board with AI? What does that mean for them?
Well, I think overall it means more options, which is always good for business. This kind of competition could lead to better pricing, more innovation, just a healthier AI ecosystem overall.
Yeah, competition is good. And it's not just the big companies anymore. The report highlights the rise of open source AI models, things like Llama 3. Some of those are achieving, scary close performance to these proprietary models.
Yeah, this is potentially a game changer because it gives businesses access to powerful AI tools without being tied to a specific vendor. However, there's a nuance to this open source idea.
Right, and the report makes it clear that open source is not a simple yes or no. There are degrees of openness. And it's really important to understand what you're getting.
Right, and business leaders should really be asking, what does open source actually mean in this case? And the report really helpfully breaks it down with a table, and it compares different AI models and what's open about their code, the data they're trained on, the licensing, and how accessible they really are. Before you jump in, you really need to understand that piece.
Absolutely. It's like choosing a software vendor. You don't just jump in without checking their reputation, what they offer. Now, shifting gears a bit, the report also dives into kind of the challenges of benchmarking in AI. How do we know if one AI model is truly better than another?
Well, this is a problem and it's kind of interesting because what's happened is some AI models may have been unintentionally trained on data that includes part of the test designed to see how well they've learned.
Right. So it's almost like if you give a student a sneak peek at the answers to an exam,
Yeah.
their score won't really reflect what they actually know.
Exactly.
So some of the progress we've seen might be a little bit overstated.
Yeah, they give a really good example here. The MetaMath Mistral 7V model, it doesn't perform as well as expected on a new math data set. And this suggests that its results on the older, more standard tests were likely inflated because of this data contamination issue.
Yeah, and that's not just a problem with some obscure math test. The widely used MMLU benchmark, this evaluates a model's understanding across various subjects. This also has a contamination problem.
Right, and this is important because it's very easy to, we want to measure things and we want to be able to compare apples to apples, and it's tempting to then overfit to these benchmarks as well.
So if we can't rely on these benchmarks, how can business leaders make informed decisions? What should they be doing?
Well, I think it underscores that while benchmarks are great, they're a good starting point, but they shouldn't be the only factor in your decision making. You need to actually do some real world testing. So if you have a particular AI tool that you're looking at that claims to be great at, writing marketing copy, have it write some marketing copy and see how it actually performs and compare it to your current process and see if it truly adds value to your business.
Yeah, don't believe the hype. Test it yourself. Solid advice. The report then dives into some of the interesting trends in how these models are being built. One that stood out to me is the rise of hybrid models. Kind of an interesting term.
Yeah, essentially these models combine different techniques, and the goal here is to improve their accuracy while reducing the amount of computing power needed to run them. So it's all about getting more bang for your buck, computationally speaking.
Yeah, like combining the strengths of a race car and a truck. You get the speed and power, but with better fuel efficiency.
Exactly, yeah.
One example is AI21 Labs' Mamba Transformer model. Let's say this outperforms standard models in tasks like knowledge, understanding knowledge and logic, while using significantly less computing power. What does that mean for businesses? Why should they care?
Well, I think this is great news for businesses that maybe don't have the resources for a massive energy-hungry data center. These hybrid models could make powerful AI more accessible and more cost-effective. And it also, fuels that trend of running AI models directly on devices, even smartphones.
Wow, so no more need to rely solely on the cloud. You could have powerful AI capabilities right at your fingertips. The report also talks about techniques like model shrinking and distillation. Can you tell us a bit more about those? What's going on there?
Yeah, I think these all kind of play into that theme of making these AI models more efficient, which again is going to be really crucial for businesses looking to deploy these things at a larger scale.
Okay, so let's start with model shrinking. What is that all about?
So think about it like this. You have a huge, powerful engine in a car that you mainly use for city driving. It's overkill, right? So model shrinking is kind of like trimming down that engine, removing layers or parts that aren't really essential without sacrificing too much performance.
So you're getting rid of the computational fat, making it leaner and more efficient.
Exactly. And so Meta and MIT researchers have been experimenting with this, and NVIDIA has had some success with this as well. And they even use a technique called knowledge distillation to retrain these smaller models.
So it's like having a smaller engine that's been expertly tuned for maximum efficiency.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And this is particularly important for these on-device applications where, memory and processing power are limited.
Yeah, this could be huge for businesses that want to deploy AI on, say, smartphones, or maybe smart speakers, or even sensors in a factory setting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, speaking of smaller models, what about this distillation idea?
So distillation is kind of like training a student by having them learn from an expert teacher. So you take a large, complex AI model that's already very good at a task and have it teach a smaller, simpler model. And the smaller model learns the essential knowledge and skills without needing all the complexity of that larger model.
So you're essentially creating a more compact and efficient version of the original.
Exactly, yeah. And Google, for example, used this technique to create their Gemini 1.5 Flash model, which is a smaller and faster version of their larger Gemini model.
Wow. This trend towards smaller, more efficient models is incredibly exciting, especially for businesses. It opens up a world of possibilities for deploying AI in more places for a wider range of applications. But it's not just about the size and efficiency of these models, it's also about the data we feed them. And the report really dives into the use of synthetic data, which is basically artificial data that's created to mimic real data.
Yeah, this is a hot topic because it has the potential to solve some big problems in AI, like not having enough data in specific areas or having data that's biased. For example, if you're building a facial recognition system and your data set is mostly pictures of people with lighter skin tones, the AI might not be as accurate when identifying people with darker skin tones. So that's a clear example of bias.
Right, so that's where synthetic data comes in.
Exactly, yeah. Researchers are using it to create more diverse and representative data sets. Anthropic used synthetic data to train their Claude 3 model. Hugging Face created a massive data set called Cosmopedia using this technique.
NVIDIA also jumped on that bandwagon, releasing models specifically for generating synthetic data. They call it Nematron 4340B. Are there any downsides to using synthetic data?
Yeah, there's a really important concern that the report raises, and it's this idea of model collapse. So essentially, if you keep training AI models on synthetic data that was generated by other AI models, there's a risk that the quality of the data, and therefore the model, could degrade over time. Imagine making copies of copies. Eventually, you lose some of the original detail.
It's like the AI equivalent of telephone,
Yeah.
where the information gets a little bit distorted with each retelling. And what does the report say about this potential pitfall?
So research from Oxford and Cambridge indicates that this model collapse can happen across different types of AI models. And this means just having a tiny bit of real data might not be enough to prevent it.
So even in the age of synthetic data, having access to real human-generated data is still crucial.
Absolutely. And it highlights how important it is for businesses to really invest in solid data collection strategies. Y- You need to be gathering and organizing your data effectively to really take advantage of these AI advancements.
And that leads us to the topic of web data curation, which is essentially the process of cleaning up and organizing the massive amount of information available on the internet to make it useful for training these AI models.
Right, because it's not just about having a ton of data, it's about having the right data. And there's this really interesting example. Hugging Face built a huge data set, 15 trillion words from web data, and they trained AI models on it. And guess what? Those models outperformed others trained on smaller, more curated data sets.
So size does matter, to a point.
To a point, exactly. But the key here is that Hugging Face didn't just take all of this web data at face value, they carefully filtered and deduplicated it to ensure quality. They have a whole process for this. They call it the fine web pipeline.
So even with all this data at our fingertips, you can't just throw it all at an AI model and expect good results. It needs to be cleaned, organized, and it needs to be relevant. Just like with any other business process, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about retrieval augmented generation, or a RAG for short. What is it, and why should business leaders care about it?
So our RAG is about enabling AI models to access and use information that's not part of their initial training data. Think of it like giving an AI model access to a massive library. It can then retrieve relevant information from this library to answer your questions or complete tasks.
So it's like giving your AI a superpower, the ability to constantly learn and expand its knowledge.
Precisely. And the report highlights Google's GridLM, which is a massive embedding model, as a prime example of this. It's driving major improvements in how AI models find and understand information.
And then there's Colpoly, which is a visual language model. This is interesting. It uses the visual layout of documents, like where pictures are placed or how the text is formatted, to understand the context of the information. Imagine being able to search for information based not just on keywords, but on what the document looks like. That's a whole new level of search.
It is, and it really highlights the incredible innovation happening in the field, particularly in open source models. OpenAI, their embedding model is ranked 29th, while NVIDIA's open source NVMbed takes the top spot in retrieval tasks.
Wow, this open source revolution in AI is definitely something business leaders should be keeping an eye on. It has the potential to really disrupt the entire industry. But even with these advanced retrieval models, context is still key, right?
Oh, absolutely. And Anthropic found a way to actually improve RA by making AI models better at understanding the context of information. They basically tell the model to explain the main point of each section in a document. So it's not just about finding the right information, but it's about understanding its significance within the broader context.
That makes sense.
And the good news is this technique can be scaled using something called prompt caching, which essentially means storing and reusing the instructions you give to the AI.
That's great news. Makes it a lot more practical for businesses to implement. But the report also mentions some challenges in evaluating how well RA is working.
Yeah, because right now we're kind of making do with the evaluation methods that we have, and they weren't really designed for this. They don't fully capture how accurate the information retrieval is or what happens when an AI model comes across conflicting information.
So how do we address this challenge? What are researchers doing about it?
Researchers are working on new ways to evaluate R. They're developing systems like Ragnarok, which actually gets humans involved in judging the quality of information retrieved by AI. They're also creating data sets of complex, multifaceted questions, like those you'd find in a real-world research scenario, to really challenge these RAG systems.
It's like putting these RAG systems through a rigorous obstacle course to see what they're truly capable of. All of this really highlights just the rapid pace of innovation in AI. It's amazing to see how researchers are constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But even with all these advancements, the report makes it clear that AI still has some limitations, particularly when it comes to planning and simulating real-world scenarios.
Yeah, we've seen AI models like LLMs excel at so many language-based tasks, but they really struggle with this idea of planning and predicting outcomes in these dynamic, changing situations.
It's like they can write a great story, but have trouble figuring out how to navigate a busy city in real time.
That's a great analogy. The report mentions that AI models still find it hard to simulate simple actions in text-based games, especially when those actions are influenced by changes in the game environment.
Yeah, they even struggle with more abstract planning challenges, like the blocks world and logistics problems, where they need to figure out how to move blocks or objects in a specific way.
Right. Even GPT-4, which is a very advanced model, struggles with this, managing to create a workable plan only 12% of the time.
Wow. So while AI can do some incredible things, we're still a long way off from having AI systems that can plan and strategize like humans. What does that mean for business leaders listening?
It's a reality check, I think. If you're considering using AI in areas that require planning, like predicting market trends or optimizing complex supply chains, proceed with caution. AI can assist, but for now, human judgment is still paramount in these areas.
Don't hand over the keys to the business just yet. But researchers aren't just sitting back. The report talks about efforts to make AI models think before they speak.
Exactly. There's a lot of ongoing research into improving the reasoning abilities of these AI models. One approach is to actually force these models to generate internal explanations during their training process. So instead of just spitting out an answer, they have to show their work, so to speak. And this helps them better understand and predict what comes next in a sequence of information.
It's like giving the AI a jolt of energy right when it needs it most. These are just a few examples of how researchers are really pushing the boundaries of AI reasoning and problem solving. The report also touches on this idea of open-endedness. What exactly does that mean in the context of AI?
So, open-endedness is this fascinating area of research that aims to create AI systems that can continuously generate new knowledge and adapt to novel situations rather than relying on this fixed set of pre-trained information. So it's about building AI that doesn't hit a wall when it encounters something it hasn't seen before.
So instead of being limited by what they've been trained on, these AI systems would be able to keep learning and evolving.
Precisely. And Google DeepMind's Strategist project is a great example of this. They're using this approach to allow AI models to develop new skills in multi-agent games, which are incredibly complex environments.
It's like learning the rules of a new board game just by playing it without having to read the rulebook.
That's a great analogy. And they've used this approach successfully for tasks like planning actions, generating dialogue in these complex strategy games.
This is really getting into the realm of AI that learns and adapts on its own. It's exciting, but also a little bit daunting to think about. The report also delves into a more fundamental question about how AI models think. Do they truly reason, or are they just incredibly good at memorizing patterns?
Right, and researchers at Ohio State University did a really interesting study that suggests these AI models might be capable of more than just memorization. They found that overfitted transformer models, and these are basically models that have absorbed their training data to the point where they can perfectly reproduce it. They can actually outperform some of the most advanced AI models in certain reasoning tasks.
So they're so familiar with their training data that they can use it to extrapolate and solve new problems. That's pretty impressive.
It is, but there's a catch. Their analysis revealed that these overfitted models are good at comparing attributes based on very specific facts, but they struggle when they need to apply that knowledge in new situations or when the rules of the game change, so to speak.
So they can ace a multiple choice test, but when it comes to writing an essay, they hit a wall.
Exactly. It's like they haven't really grasped the underlying concepts. They can work within a set of rules they've memorized, but they struggle to think beyond those rules.
It raises a fascinating question for business leaders to ponder. When evaluating the capabilities of an AI system, are we looking at true reasoning ability, or is it just really, really advanced memorization disguised as intelligence?
That's a great question.
Yeah, and this distinction is crucial, especially when we're considering the level of trust we're willing to place in AI systems for critical business decisions. Now, speaking of groundbreaking research, the report highlights an area called program search. And this involves using AI to not just solve problems, but to find the most elegant and efficient ways to solve them.
Yeah, this is a fascinating approach developed by Google DeepMind that combines LLMs with algorithms inspired by evolution. And it's not about finding a solution directly. It's about searching for a program, a set of instructions that represents the most elegant and generalizable solution to a problem. And they actually call it Fun Search.
So it's like having an AI that doesn't just tell you the answer. It shows you the most efficient and logical way to arrive at that answer.
Exactly. And they've used this technique to discover novel solutions for some really complex problems in fields like mathematics and computer science, often outperforming solutions designed by humans.
That's pretty remarkable. And it speaks to the potential of AI to not just assist us in solving problems, but to fundamentally change how we approach problem solving.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it might be the key to finally cracking some of the toughest challenges in AI, like those posed by the ARC challenge. Francois Chalet, the creator of that challenge, believes program search has huge potential in this area.
It's exciting stuff.
So it could be a game changer for advancing AI capabilities to a whole new level. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about how AI is being used to enhance another powerful technology, reinforcement learning, or RL for short. And RL is all about training AI agents to make decisions and take actions in dynamic environments through trial and error.
It's like teaching a dog new tricks with treats and praise. They learn by doing and figuring out what actions lead to positive outcomes.
Exactly. The report highlights DigRL, a novel RL approach that's used to train AI agents to control devices, like navigating a smartphone interface. And it achieves some really impressive results, significantly outperforming previous approaches.
It's really cool because it's an autonomous learning approach, meaning it doesn't require this constant human supervision to learn. And this is a big deal because it makes RL more scalable and practical for real-world applications.
So you can set it and forget it. That sounds ideal.
Well, not quite forget it, but it does remove a significant bottleneck in the RL development process. And the report also mentions how researchers are actually leveraging LLMs to boost RL performance even further.
That's fascinating. So it's like having two brilliant minds working together. One that's great at language and understanding, and the other that excels at learning through experience.
Exactly. There's this project called Intelligent Go Explore, or IGE for short, that uses LLMs to guide various aspects of the RL process. And this guidance helps the RL agent make smarter choices about which actions to try, which experiences to learn from, and how to explore its environment more efficiently.
It's like giving the RL agent a knowledgeable mentor to guide its learning journey.
That's a great way to put it, and the results speak for themselves. IGE outperformed other LLM-based RL agents in a variety of tasks, including complex problem solving, navigating virtual worlds, even playing text-based adventure games.
That's impressive. It really highlights the potential for combining these different AI approaches to achieve even greater results.
Absolutely. And speaking of combining approaches, the report also talks about the resurgence of interest in a technique called Monte Carlo tree search, or MCTS, for improving planning in AI systems.
Now, MCTS isn't a new technique. It was actually a key component of AlphaGo, DeepMind's program, that famously defeated a professional Go player. What's interesting is that it's now being revisited in the context of LLMs.
Right. Researchers combined an LLM with MCTS and found that it dramatically improved the model's ability to perform real-world tasks, like booking flights and hotels.
So it's like taking an AI that's good at understanding language and giving it a strategic planning boost.
Exactly. However, the report does point out a potential downside of using MCTS. While it can improve performance in specific tasks, it might also limit the AI's ability to explore more creative or unconventional solutions. It's like focusing so much on optimizing a single path that you miss out on potentially better routes.
It's a good reminder that every technique has its trade-offs. There's no magic bullet in AI. It's all about finding the right tool for the job.
Couldn't agree more. The report goes on to discuss two really exciting projects that are using foundation models, which are essentially large, powerful AI models trained on massive data sets to generate training data for RL agents.
That sounds incredibly meta. We're using AI to train AI.
It might sound a bit circular, but it's actually a very clever approach. So the first project is called Genie, developed by Google. And Genie is like a world simulator for AI. It learns from video game footage, and it can then create new interactive scenes, providing this nearly limitless playground for RL agents to learn in.
So instead of being limited by the real world or even pre-programmed simulations, these AI agents can train in a constantly evolving AI-generated environment.
That's the idea, and it has huge potential for overcoming one of the biggest limitations in RL research, which is access to diverse and challenging training data.
It's like having a never-ending supply of training scenarios, each one tailored to help the AI learn as efficiently as possible.
Exactly. And then there's OpenAI Epic, a project from Imperial and UBC, which uses LLMs to generate an endless stream of tasks and environments for RL agents.
It's like having an AI personal trainer that constantly throws new challenges at its AI student to help it grow stronger and smarter.
Precisely. These are just two examples of how researchers are using AI to push the boundaries of what's possible with RL, and it's clear that this field is poised for some major breakthroughs in the years to come.
It's an exciting time to be following the world of AI, that's for sure. Now, speaking of exciting fields, the report also dives into the world of robotics, which is undergoing a resurgence thanks in part to advancements in AI.
Robotics is a field that has always held immense potential, but it's often been hampered by limitations in technology and data. However, with the rise of LLMs and VLMs, we're seeing a renewed excitement around robotics.
The report points out that even OpenAI, who previously disbanded their robotics team, has now rebooted it, citing the potential of these new AI models to overcome some of the long-standing hurdles in the field.
Yeah, I think that's a really strong signal that robotics is back on the map. And this time, it's powered by AI.
And one of the key benefits of using LLMs and VLMs in robotics is their ability to learn from vast amounts of data, including text, code, and even images. This allows robots to develop a much deeper understanding of their environment and to perform more complex tasks.
Right, it's like giving robots the ability to read instruction manuals, watch how-to videos, and learn from their mistakes, all at an accelerated pace.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And Hugging Face, a leader in open source AI, is also playing a key role in democratizing robotics with their Lee robot platform.
It's like a one-stop shop for robotics, providing access to pre-trained models, data sets, and even demonstrations to lower the barrier to entry for researchers and developers.
So it's making robotics more accessible, which could lead to a wave of innovation in the field.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about how these advancements are translating into real-world applications, starting with self-driving cars. Wave, a company focused on autonomous driving, is leveraging multimodal AI models to enhance their self-driving systems.
And these are models that can process and understand information from multiple sources, like cameras, sensors, and even language.
Right, and they've created Lingo 2, an AI model that can actually connect driving actions, like turning the steering wheel or braking, with language explanations. Imagine a self-driving car that can tell you, in plain English, why it's making certain decisions.
That would definitely increase my comfort level as a passenger. It would make the decision-making process of the AI more transparent and understandable.
Exactly. It could be a game changer for building trust in autonomous vehicles. And in addition to Lingo 2, Wave also created Prism 1, which generates realistic simulations of driving scenarios using just camera input.
And this is critical for safety, right? It allows them to expose their AI to a wider range of situations and edge cases than would be possible in real-world testing alone. Speaking of testing, the report then delves into the world of video segmentation, which is a key area for AI applications ranging from, video editing to robotics and medical imaging. Meta recently released Segment Anything 2, or SAM2, which represents a significant step forward in this field.
SAM2 is designed to segment or separate different objects or regions within a video. This is important for tasks like identifying individual people in a crowd, tracking the movement of objects, or analyzing medical scans. What's impressive about SAM2 is that it's not just more accurate than its predecessor, it's also 6 times faster.
That's a significant leap forward as it makes real-time video analysis more feasible for a wider range of applications.
Absolutely. However, the report does point out that SAM2 still struggles when it needs to segment multiple objects at the same time, particularly in longer video clips.
So there's still room for improvement, but it's a testament to the incredible progress being made in this area.
Absolutely. And this progress isn't limited to just developing new AI models and algorithms. Researchers are also finding creative ways to leverage existing data to train robots for increasingly complex tasks, especially when it comes to manipulation, which is basically the ability to interact with and move objects.
And this is important because robots that can interact with the world more dexterously have a much wider range of potential applications.
Exactly. One example is researchers at Carnegie Mellon. They're training robots to understand affordances. It essentially means training robots to understand what actions are possible with certain objects just by looking at them. For example, a robot might learn that a door handle is for pulling or turning, or that a button is for pushing.
It seems like common sense to us, but for robots, it's something they need to learn.
Exactly. And these researchers are achieving this by having robots learn from videos of humans interacting with objects. They're essentially teaching robots to understand the world the way we do by observing how we interact with it.
That's fascinating. So they're leveraging the vast amount of video data available to accelerate robot learning.
Precisely. And it's not just about visual learning. A team from Berkeley and Stanford is using a technique called chain of thought reasoning to enhance robot decision-making.
So instead of just reacting to what they see, these robots can think through a sequence of steps before taking action.
Exactly. It's about bringing a higher level of cognitive ability to robotics.
These developments are really exciting because they point towards a future where robots are not just tools, but collaborators, capable of understanding and interacting with the world in more human-like ways.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of robots with enhanced capabilities, the report highlights some impressive work being done on improving the manipulation skills of legged robots.
And this is particularly challenging because legged robots need to maintain balance and coordination while also manipulating objects, which requires a high degree of dexterity and control.
You're right. Boston Dynamics Spot Robot is a great example. It's well known for its impressive mobility and agility, but its manipulation skills are still relatively limited.
It can dance and navigate complex environments with ease, but it's not quite ready to be folding laundry or doing the dishes.
Exactly. However, researchers are actively working on closing this gap. A team from Stanford and Columbia is exploring ways to transfer manipulation skills learned by stationary robotic arms to mobile-legged robots. Imagine a robot that can not only walk and climb stairs, but can also use its hands to open doors, pick up objects, and interact with its environment with the same dexterity as a human.
That would open up a whole new world of possibilities for robots in homes, workplaces, and beyond.
Absolutely. And speaking of robots with nimble hands, a team from UC San Diego has developed a two-part system to enhance the manipulation capabilities of robots.
What's unique about their approach?
They've combined a low-level control system, which handles the precise movements of the robot's limbs, with a higher-level planning system that can generate commands based on what the robot sees. Imagine a robot that can look at a cluttered table, identify a specific object, plan a path to reach it, and then grasp it delicately without knocking anything over.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It's like giving the robot hand-eye coordination and a bit of common sense. Expert.
It's like giving the robot hand-eye coordination and a bit of common sense.
Exactly. These advancements in robot manipulation, combined with the progress in mobility and navigation, are paving the way for a new generation of robots capable of performing a much wider range of tasks in real-world settings.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears a bit, the report also highlights an unexpected source of innovation in robotics research: Apple's Vision Pro headset.
Really? The Vision Pro. I wouldn't have thought of that as a tool for robotics research. How's that playing out?
It might seem strange at first glance, but the Vision Pro's advanced features, such as its high-resolution displays, precise tracking capabilities, and powerful processing unit, make it a surprisingly effective tool for teleoperation.
And teleoperation is basically the ability to control a robot from a distance, as if you were there in person. So we're talking about things like a surgeon in New York performing a delicate operation on a patient in London using a robot as their proxy. Or maybe an engineer inspecting a damaged oil rig deep underwater from the safety of a ship on the surface.
Those are great examples, and systems like Open Television and Bunny Vision Pro are leveraging the Vision Pro to achieve some really remarkable feats of teleoperation. Researchers have used these systems to control robots located thousands of miles away, performing tasks that require a high degree of precision and dexterity, such as manipulating delicate objects with multi-fingered robotic hands.
That's incredible. It's like having the ability to project your presence and skills to a remote location through a robot.
That's essentially what it is. And the Vision Pro's advanced tracking and display capabilities make it possible to control these robots with a level of precision and immersion that wasn't possible before.
That's amazing to see how a consumer-grade device like the Vision Pro is finding these unexpected applications in cutting-edge robotics research. It really speaks to the rapid pace of technological convergence we're witnessing today. Now, speaking of cutting-edge technology, let's dive into the world of medical AI, where advancements are being made at an equally rapid pace. The report highlights Google's MedGemini family of AI models, which are specifically designed for medical applications.
These models are a big deal because they demonstrate the potential for AI to assist doctors and other healthcare professionals in making faster, more accurate diagnoses, developing personalized treatment plans, and ultimately improving patient outcomes.
So instead of replacing doctors, these AI models are being positioned as powerful tools to assist them in their work.
Exactly. And the performance of these MedGemini models is quite impressive. They've been trained on a vast amount of medical data, including text, code, and even images, and they've achieved state-of-the-art results on several challenging medical benchmarks, even surpassing GPT-4 in some cases.
What kind of benchmarks are we talking about here?
We're talking about benchmarks that test an AI's ability to answer complex medical questions, understand and interpret medical images like x-rays and scans, and even generate coherent and accurate medical reports. In one study, doctors even rated the output of these models as being on par with or even better than reports written by human doctors in most cases.
That's incredibly promising. It really shows the potential for these AI models to not just support, but enhance human expertise in a field as complex and critical as medicine.
It's not about replacing doctors, but about giving them tools that can help them make better, more informed decisions. However, one of the challenges in medical AI is getting access to enough high-quality data to train these models. That's where the report highlights some very interesting research on using AI to generate synthetic medical data.
So instead of relying solely on real patient data, which can be scarce, expensive to collect, and raise privacy concerns, researchers are now using AI to create their own medical data.
Precisely. One example involves using a type of AI called a generative adversarial network, or GAN for short, to create synthetic chest x-rays. These GANs were trained on a massive data set of real chest x-rays and their corresponding reports written by radiologists. The AI essentially learns the patterns and characteristics of real medical images and then uses that knowledge to generate new, synthetic images that are remarkably similar to the real thing.
It's like having an AI artist that specializes in creating incredibly realistic medical illustrations, but instead of using paintbrushes and canvases, it uses algorithms and data.
That's a great way to put it. And what's even more impressive is that these synthetic images were evaluated by board-certified radiologists, and they found them to be very convincing, both in terms of their visual fidelity and their medical accuracy.
That's huge. It means that these synthetic images could potentially be used to train medical AI models in situations where access to real patient data is limited or where privacy concerns are paramount. It could also be used to create more diverse and representative data sets, to train AI models to be more equitable and effective for all patients.
You've hit the nail on the head. This is a very exciting area of research that has the potential to revolutionize medical AI by overcoming one of its biggest bottlenecks, data availability.
This deep dive into the State of AI report is really highlighting how AI is impacting almost every industry imaginable. Speaking of which, the report doesn't just focus on research. It also delves into the business side of AI, specifically the world of enterprise automation.
And this year's report highlights the limitations of traditional approaches to automation, like robotic process automation or RPA. While RPA has been successful in automating simple, repetitive tasks, it often struggles with more complex workflows that require flexibility, adaptability, and even a degree of understanding.
It's like having a robot that can follow a set of instructions perfectly, but falls apart if you deviate from the script or if something unexpected happens.
Exactly.
So how is AI changing the game for enterprise automation?
The report showcases two exciting developments in this area. The first is FlowMind, a system developed by JP Morgan that uses LLMs to automate financial workflows.
Now, financial workflows are notoriously complex, involving a lot of data, regulations, and decision-making. How does FlowMind handle that complexity?
FlowMind uses LLMs to understand the nuances of financial language, interpret complex data sets, and even generate executable code to automate tasks. In essence, it can translate human-readable instructions into machine-executable actions, and it's been incredibly successful. In tests, FlowMind achieved an impressive 99.5% accuracy in understanding and automating these complex financial workflows.
That's remarkable. It sounds like it has the potential to significantly streamline operations, reduce errors, and free up human employees to focus on more strategic and creative tasks.
Exactly. And then there's Eclair, a project from Stanford that takes a broader approach to enterprise automation using AI. Eclair leverages what are called multimodal models, which means they can process and understand information from multiple sources like text, images, and even videos.
So instead of being limited to just text-based instructions, Eclair can learn by watching how humans interact with software and by understanding the visual layout of user interfaces. It's like teaching an AI to navigate a computer program the same way a human would, by looking at the screen and interacting with the menus and buttons.
You've got it. And this approach has shown a lot of promise. In tests, Eclair was able to improve completion rates in web navigation tasks from 0% to 40%. That means it was able to successfully navigate to specific web pages and complete tasks, like filling out forms or submitting information, simply by observing how humans do it.
That's a huge leap forward for AI-powered automation. It suggests that we're moving towards a future where AI can automate not just simple repetitive tasks, but also more complex workflows that require a degree of understanding, adaptability, and even problem solving.
Exactly. And this has significant implications for businesses across all industries. Imagine a world where AI can handle everything from processing invoices and managing customer service inquiries to analyzing market trends and developing marketing campaigns. This is the promise of AI-powered enterprise automation.
It's a future that's both exciting and a little bit daunting. But as with any transformative technology, the key for business leaders is to stay informed, understand the potential benefits and risks, and make strategic decisions about how to adopt and integrate AI into their operations in a way that makes sense for their specific needs and goals.
I couldn't agree more. Now, speaking of staying informed, let's shift gears and delve into another important aspect of the State of AI report, the industry landscape itself. As we discussed earlier, there's a lot of excitement around the potential for AI to revolutionize various industries, but there's also fierce competition among the companies and technologies driving this revolution.
And no conversation about the AI industry landscape would be complete without talking about NVIDIA. They've established themselves as the dominant force in AI hardware, specifically GPUs, which are the workhorses behind training and running these powerful AI models.
You're right. NVIDIA has been on a roll in recent years, and their Q2 2024 revenue of $30 billion with earnings per share of Euro 67 cents is a testament to their success.
Yeah, those are some really impressive numbers. It sounds like they're just running away with it.
They've definitely built a significant lead, and the report highlights this with some pretty compelling graphs comparing NVIDIA's performance to its competitors, AMD and Intel, and the difference is stark. NVIDIA's not just winning, they're dominating, and they're showing no signs of slowing down. They recently unveiled their new Blackwell architecture, which includes the B200 GPU and the even more powerful GB200 superchip. These new chips promise even greater performance gains over their already impressive Hopper architecture, including a remarkable 25x improvement in energy efficiency.
That's huge. Energy consumption is a major concern for businesses that are running these, power-hungry AI models. A 25x improvement in efficiency could translate into significant cost savings.
Exactly. And it's not just about saving money, it's also about reducing the environmental impact of these technologies. Greater energy efficiency means a smaller carbon footprint, which is something that more and more businesses are prioritizing these days.
It seems like NVIDIA has all the right ingredients for continued success. Cutting-edge technology, a strong market position, and a commitment to sustainability.
Right.
So what does the future hold for them?
Well, while NVIDIA is currently riding high, the report does present some alternative viewpoints from industry analysts who argue that NVIDIA's dominance might not be as secure as it seems. They point to a few factors that could potentially erode NVIDIA's lead in the coming years.
Like what? What could possibly slow down this AI juggernaut?
One concern is that the global shortage of GPUs, which has been a boon for NVIDIA, is starting to ease. As more chips become available, competition is likely to heat up, potentially driving down prices and cutting into NVIDIA's profit margins.
That's the law of supply and demand at work. When supply catches up with demand, prices tend to stabilize or even decrease.
Exactly. And it's not just about the availability of chips. Some analysts also point out that while NVIDIA is the undisputed leader in AI hardware, their revenue from software and services specifically designed for AI is still relatively small.
So they're making most of their money from selling the picks and shovels, not from providing the gold mining services themselves.
That's one way to look at it. And this could be a vulnerability for NVIDIA in the long run. As AI becomes more integrated into various industries, businesses are increasingly looking for comprehensive solutions that include not just hardware, but also the software services and expertise to build and deploy AI applications effectively.
So while NVIDIA excels at providing the raw computing power needed for AI, they might be missing out on opportunities to capture more value higher up the value chain.
That's the argument some analysts are making. And it's not entirely unfounded. Other tech giants like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are already offering a wide range of AI services and solutions through their cloud computing platforms.
It's true. Cloud computing has become synonymous with AI for many businesses, and these tech giants have a head start in that arena.
Exactly. And they're not just providing the infrastructure, they're also investing heavily in developing their own AI chips and hardware to power their cloud offerings and reduce their reliance on NVIDIA.
So while NVIDIA might be the king of the hill right now, they're facing some potential challengers in the long run. It's a dynamic and rapidly evolving landscape, and only time will tell how it all plays out.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of challengers, the report also takes a closer look at some of the companies that have received significant investments to develop AI chips and compete with NVIDIA. And surprisingly, despite pouring billions of dollars into research and development, these challengers haven't really been able to make a significant dent in NVIDIA's market share.
That's surprising. Why haven't these investments translated into more competition?
The report suggests that while companies like AMD and Intel have made strides in developing competitive GPUs, they still lack something crucial, a comprehensive ecosystem of supporting technologies and services that rivals NVIDIA's. NVIDIA doesn't just sell chips, they provide a whole suite of software tools, libraries, and networking solutions specifically designed to optimize AI workloads. And this creates a significant barrier to entry for competitors.
So it's not enough to just build a better chip? You need to build a better ecosystem around that chip.
Exactly. And that's something NVIDIA has excelled at. They've created this robust ecosystem that makes it easy for businesses to adopt, deploy, and scale AI applications using NVIDIA hardware.
So while other companies are playing catch-up, NVIDIA has already built a significant moat around its business.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean they can rest on their laurels. The report highlights how some of the biggest names in tech are making moves to reduce their reliance on NVIDIA and potentially become competitors in the AI hardware space.
Like who? Who has the resources and the ambition to challenge NVIDIA?
Well, Google, for one, recently unveiled its Axion chip, which is built on the ARM-v9 architecture. And this is significant because ARM-based chips are known for their energy efficiency, which is becoming increasingly important as AI models grow larger and more complex.
So Google is positioning itself as a more sustainable alternative to NVIDIA.
That's one way to look at it. And they're not alone. Meta, formerly known as Facebook, has also jumped into the ring, revealing its second-generation AI inference accelerator.
And inference is basically the process of using a trained AI model to make predictions or generate output, which is distinct from training the model itself.
So Meta is focusing on making the deployment of AI models more efficient.
Exactly. They're targeting businesses that are looking to run AI models in real time, like for image recognition in self-driving cars or for natural language processing in chatbots. And even OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, is making moves to diversify its chip supply and reduce its dependence on NVIDIA. They've reportedly been poaching talent from Google's TPU team, which develops chips specifically designed for machine learning.
It sounds like OpenAI is playing the long game here. They're not content with just developing groundbreaking AI models. They also want to control the hardware that those models run on.
That seems to be the case. And they've even been in talks with Broadcom, a major chip manufacturer, about developing a new AI chip specifically for OpenAI's needs. Sam Altman, OpenAI CEO, is a man with a plan. And that plan seems to involve becoming a major player in the AI hardware space. It's a bold ambition, but given OpenAI's track record, I wouldn't bet against them.
Me neither. Now, beyond specific companies, the report also provides some interesting insights into broader compute trends in the AI industry. For example, their compute index shows that while the number of large-scale NVIDIA A100 clusters has remained relatively stable, there's been significant growth in the number of H100 clusters.
Now, for those of us who aren't, deep in the weeds of AI hardware, can you explain what those clusters are and why this trend is important?
Of course. Essentially, these clusters are massive supercomputers specifically designed for AI workloads. They consist of hundreds or even thousands of individual GPUs linked together to provide the massive processing power needed to train and run the largest and most complex AI models. The A100 and H100 are different generations of NVIDIA GPUs, with the H100 being the newer and more powerful of the two.
So the fact that we're seeing more H100 clusters popping up suggests that the demand for AI computing power is not only continuing, but accelerating.
Exactly. And some of the biggest H100 clusters belong to companies at the forefront of AI research and development. For example, Meta boasts a massive cluster with 350,000 H100 GPUs, while Elon Musk's xAI has a cluster with 100,000. Even Tesla has a sizable cluster with 35,000 H100 GPUs.
These companies are clearly betting big on AI, and they're putting their money where their mouth is by investing in the hardware they need to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the raw number of GPUs. The report also points out that the first GB200 clusters, which are based on NVIDIA's most powerful chip yet, are starting to come online. OpenAI, for example, is expected to have access to a cluster with a staggering 300,000 GB200 GPUs by the end of next year.
That's mind-boggling. It's hard to even fathom the kind of AI capabilities that much computing power could unlock.
It's truly remarkable how quickly this field is advancing, and it's a clear indication that the AI revolution is just getting started.
It's both exciting and a little bit intimidating to think about. So what does all of this mean for business leaders who are trying to navigate this rapidly evolving AI landscape?
I think the key takeaway is that while NVIDIA is the dominant force in AI hardware today, the landscape is shifting. New challengers are emerging, big tech is investing heavily in their own AI hardware capabilities, and the demand for AI computing power is only going to continue to grow in the years to come.
So businesses need to be strategic about their AI hardware choices. It's not just about buying the most powerful chips today, but about finding partners and solutions that can scale to meet their needs in the future.
Absolutely. And it's not just about hardware. As we've discussed, software, services, and expertise are equally important in building and deploying successful AI solutions. Businesses need to take a holistic view of their AI strategy and find partners that can provide the right combination of hardware, software, and expertise to help them achieve their specific goals.
So a deep understanding of the AI industry landscape, the key players, and the competitive dynamics is crucial for any business leader who wants to leverage AI effectively.
Couldn't agree more. Now, let's shift our focus back to some of the amazing research and development happening in the AI world. Specifically, let's dive into the fascinating realm of multimodal AI.
Multimodal AI is all about building AI systems that can process and understand information from multiple sources, such as text, images, audio, and even sensor data. It's about creating AI that can experience the world more like humans do, through a combination of senses.
Exactly. And this is a field that's really starting to take off thanks to advancements in AI models and algorithms, as well as the increasing availability of data from various sources. One of the most exciting applications of multimodal AI is in the field of robotics. We've already discussed how AI is being used to enhance robot manipulation, navigation, and even teleoperation. But multimodal AI takes things to a whole new level.
So instead of just relying on cameras or sensors, these multimodal robots can use a combination of senses to understand and interact with their environment more effectively.
Exactly. Imagine a robot that can not only see and navigate a room, but can also understand spoken language, recognize objects by touch, and even respond to changes in temperature or light. That's the promise of multimodal robotics.
That sounds like something out of science fiction.
It does, but it's quickly becoming a reality. Researchers are already developing robots that can perform a wide range of tasks using multimodal AI. For example, there are robots that can assist in warehouses by identifying and sorting packages, robots that can work alongside humans in manufacturing plants by understanding and responding to gestures and spoken commands, and even robots that can provide companionship and assistance to the elderly by engaging in conversation, playing games, and infecting objects.
These are all incredibly compelling applications of AI that have the potential to not just automate tasks, but to truly augment human capabilities and improve our lives.
Absolutely. And the possibilities are truly endless when you start thinking about the potential of multimodal AI. It's a field that's ripe for innovation, and I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Me too. Now, before we move on to the final section of our deep dive, let's take a quick recap to make sure we've covered all the key takeaways from the State of AI report so far. We've discussed, we've talked about how the AI landscape is becoming more competitive, with open source models challenging the big players like OpenAI. We've also delved into the exciting advancements in areas like model efficiency, synthetic data, and retrieval augmented generation, which are making AI more powerful, accessible, and scalable. We also explored the resurgence of robotics fueled by AI and the incredible potential of multimodal AI to revolutionize how machines interact with the world.
And let's not forget the fascinating developments in medical AI, where AI models are being used to assist doctors, analyze medical images, and even generate synthetic data to overcome data scarcity.
Right. And we've also discussed the business side of AI, exploring the limitations of traditional automation, the rise of AI-powered enterprise automation, and the fierce competition in the AI hardware market, where NVIDIA reigns supreme but faces potential challengers in the long run.
That's a great summary. We've covered a lot of ground, but I think it highlights the incredible breadth and depth of the AI revolution that's happening right now.
It's a lot to take in. But it's essential for business leaders to stay informed about these trends because they have the potential to impact every industry imaginable.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the final and perhaps most thought-provoking section of our deep dive. The report concludes by raising some big-picture questions about the future of AI.
Okay, so what are the big questions that are keeping AI researchers up at night?
One of the most profound questions is whether we're approaching a future where AI could drive its own progress. Think about it. We're already using AI to design new AI chips, generate synthetic data to train AI models, and even automate some aspects of AI research itself.
It's like AI is becoming self-perpetuating. It's creating the tools and resources to accelerate its own development.
Exactly. And this raises some fascinating and perhaps even slightly unsettling questions about the future of AI and its relationship with humanity. If AI becomes increasingly capable of driving its own progress, what role will humans play in shaping its development and ensuring that it aligns with our values and goals?
It's a question that science fiction writers have been grappling with for decades, but it seems like it's moving from the realm of fiction into the realm of reality.
It certainly is, and it's something that business leaders, policymakers, and society as a whole need to start thinking about seriously.
It's a lot of responsibility, but it also comes with incredible opportunities.
Absolutely. And that's the message I hope listeners take away from this deep dive. AI is a powerful tool with the potential to solve some of the world's most pressing problems and create a more prosperous and equitable future for everyone. But it's up to us, as humans, to guide its development wisely and ensure that it's used for good.
Well said. This State of AI report has given us a lot to think about, and I'm sure our listeners will have plenty to discuss after this episode.
I agree. It's been a pleasure diving into these topics with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the exciting and ever-evolving world of AI. Until next time, keep learning, keep innovating, and keep asking the big questions.